The Nick Scott Effect.
The Nick Scott Effect. Nick Scott.
Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, Google Play, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and DJNickScott.com.
So thank you for joining me.
Oh, thanks for... Well, let me grab my mic. Thanks for asking me to.
It can hear you just fine.
Okay, I'm obsessed with my little tiny mic, so...
That is the cutest mic I have ever seen.
Is it adorable?
Does it actually work?
Yes.
Oh, it's not coming through your other mic.
Oh, darn it.
Oh!
Trying to make sure. I tease people in my work all the time when I can't hear them on Zoom. I'm like, you want the tiny mic?
I do. I want all of the tiny mic.
All of the tiny mic.
Now, behind you, and one reason I was so excited that you accepted to come on is your background in theater is, enormous. I mean, you are a talent, and you are. And
oh, you're sweet.
I see behind you there glitter and shiny.
Let me give you a little tour of this.
I would love a tour.
So, okay, let me grab Tiny Mike. So, this room was custom built for all of, because we, don't have kids or anything. I'm a cat mom, so we have, I have a lot of princesses though. So there's a lot of sequins, a lot of costumes, a lot of things like this. So actually, Amanda Barron, who's a really good friend of mine, her boyfriend, custom built this big walk-in closet room for me.
That is awesome.
And so there are just tons of, you can probably see here, all of these different glittery jackets, accessories, shoes, vanity that's extremely messy, dresses. It's a lot of stuff, and that's not even chip off the iceberg. It is a lot.
That is incredible. He Amanda and he's gonna kick my butt. His first name is escaping me.
Dan,
yes. I'm so sorry, Dan. The older I get, the worse with names I get. But anyways, so when we bought this house, it was a fixer-upper, and we bought it off of an older lady who had lived here for 40 plus years. So we've remodeled almost everything in this home. But when they came over, gosh, my daughter was probably about 3. We were getting quotes on him to do some work for us. And kudos to him. At the time, he was so busy with other contracts and other things going on. We just couldn't get on his schedule. But the dude is so talented. Oh, and I could see it.
Yeah, he's amazing. I mean, this was just a blank slate of a room, and he made it a custom walk-in closet room. And then he redid my entire bathroom. I mean, he's bomb.
So the reason I asked you on is, we kind of have linear paths in a way, and we both are very passionate about entertainment and different fields of entertainment. But we actually met, and we were both in broadcasting. You were doing TV news. I was doing terrestrial local radio. And then it's like our careers have, in my opinion, I might be a little biased, but our careers have exploded outside of those walls. I mean, you're doing theater. You're now doing some national theater, which is incredible. Your new job, which I want to talk about. And people know about me. We don't need to talk about me. So
you can talk about all the things about you. You do all kinds of things.
No. This is about you. So I am intrigued, and I know there are people that listen to podcasts, that love theater. So the first thing that came to my mind was Rudi is a pro. You are. I feel like you're a pro. You've got this amazing new job that I want to talk about. So how would someone even get started in theater and acting?
Well, I mean, it's just a lot of it is just luck of the draw. So you really do have, we are really blessed in the Charleston area to have some really awesome local community theater groups. I'm very biased to the Charleston Light Opera Guild. That's who I've been with for a decade now. Nina Passanetti is a national treasure. But there are, so many other great organizations. Like the Alban Theater has grown so much.
Beautiful facility, by the way. Gorgeous facility. The Alban Theater?
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is beautiful. It kind of is in that Main Street area in St. Albans is sort of like stuck in time, but it's renovated and it's just perfect for it. But there are some great venues. There are some great people in the industry right now. And it's just, that is something that I just have always had a passion for. And, after you graduate high school, you're done with your show choir, your glee club. And so you're still looking for,
Glee
outlets
Club.
and things, glee club. And so, and I really didn't do a lot of theater in college or anything like that.
Really?
No, I was just really focused on broadcasting, and it was so funny because my absolute favorite professor there that I still stay in touch with told me at the time it was so fortuitous. He was like, we were doing our small broadcast news shows and stuff, and he said, "Do you like doing this?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I mean, I enjoy it. Is my work okay?" And he said, "Oh yeah, your work it's fine. It's good. I just don't know. I just see that someday you're just would really be better as a talk show host than journalist."
I can absolutely see that without a doubt.
But I mean, I took it as a compliment, and I loved it. But I am very thankful for the time I had in local news. It was great. I met wonderful people that I am friends with to this day. I mean, I was just talking about Amanda Barron and so many others. But it's, it kind of grew from that. And during my time in the news, though, we would actually go and cover things that the Opera Guild or other groups were doing. And it wasn't until I actually got a little more free time, how that is outside of local news and radio and stuff, got another job that allowed me to have a little more time to myself. And so I worked for the Sheriff's Association for a while as a lobbyist and executive director. And just one of my friends, when I was working out at the gym, he said, I do a lot of shows. Why do you not do them? I mean, you always go on how much you love musicals. You were brought up on it. Why don't you do it? And I said, I don't know. I guess I just never thought about getting back into it. And he said, well, give it a thought. And so, just on a whim decided, okay, let's go try out for Legally Blonde. I really like Reese Witherspoon. Love the movie. So let's do it.
Your hair color kind of matches the theme.
A little bit. Yeah. So I ended up going and got cast in the very first show. It was Brooke Wyndham, so I was the one that allegedly killed her husband. Had to do an entire number jump allegedly, and but we all know that the stepdaughter did it. And so in the end, it was crazy because it was my very first show and had to do this huge number, jump roping and singing at the same time and it was just wild. But from there, it just grew, and so I've just stayed really active with the Guild over the past 10 years. And in the middle there, I took a bit of a break because I started Putnam Princess Parties, and which was a little acting element of its own regard. So, took a brief break in there getting that started, but then came back a few years ago. When Mamma Mia came up, I could not say no to that.
Absolutely.
And Mamma Mia turned into Oklahoma, and Oklahoma turned into Sound of Music, and so on and so forth. And so I just stayed really, really active with it. And from there, we're very blessed to have, like I said, wonderful arts organizations in the community. That includes the Clay Center. I was there for a while. Gorgeous venue. Was able to work with some of our national touring Broadway shows. And luckily, I just actually kind of happened to pull in the American Theater Guild, which I had worked with similar organizations when we were, working to bring Broadway tours to the Clay Center.
Yeah.
And so the American Theater Guild is one of those branches that brings these national Broadway caliber tours to local areas. The American Theater Guild typically works mostly with theaters in the West and Midwest. And I saw this and I thought, is there a chance that could possibly happen? And it just took a little while, a lot of meetings, and a lot of praying and thinking, and somehow it just kind of ended up in a real dream job. So
I tell you, when your dreams and your passions come together, it's an amazing feeling. And there's a lot I want to unpack there. So you were working in TV news. I was working in radio. We mentioned that. And that's how we met. And those that don't know, generally speaking, the broadcasting industry, whether it be terrestrial radio or local news, especially in a market such as ours, most of us know each other, get to know one another. And I mentioned earlier, I feel like we have linear paths because, somewhere around 2010, 2012, 2013 at the latest, I, looking back, should have moved on from terrestrial radio about that time. Like it was, I had outgrown it, and I don't mean that in any way egotistically. It's just, everything in life has a season, and that's
People grow, people change. That's just
exactly
that's life.
and so that's not a slam on anyone or anything.
Yeah.
You grew out of that into the Sheriff Association, which I'm a huge supporter of our law enforcement men and women. So that I'm sure was rewarding, but then the Putnam Princess Parties, and that's something that has been so cool to watch from the outside. Here is this, I'm sure, just idea that you had that came to life successfully. And I know some of the young ladies that work as the princesses for you. And I got to say, one of the funniest things is when I've run into them, whether it be at an event that I'm DJing or whatever, I'll be like, Nidra, for example. You know Nidra, right? Shout out Nidra. Shout
She's
out to
an
Nidra.
OG.
Yeah. I'll be like, what up, Nidra? She's like, I am not Nidra. I am Rapunzel.
Cinderella.
I am Cinderella. You shut your darn mouth. I'm like, yes, ma'am. I'm so sorry, Cinderella. I will go back over here. But anyways, so how did that come to be? Was that just a late night idea?
So it is crazy how it came apart.
Cheers, by the way. I'm having a little bit of bourbon. Hope you don't mind.
Not at all, but cheers to you. I have been slamming the water. We just got back from Barbados, and we are definitely dying.
There you go. I feel you.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like I said, we don't have kids, but we love kids, and
Sure.
we've have little ones in our families and stuff, and our friends have little ones, and we actually went to a friend's birthday party over in Ohio, and they had a princess come to their daughter's birthday party, and it was kind of crazy because at the time I was playing the Dolly Parton role in 9 to 5, the musical.
I remember
Opera Guild.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember
fun
that.
times.
You have you have the hair color to match.
I know, right? I need to bleach it a little more. I feel like it wasn't even blonde enough for her. She is the OG of the blondes. Yeah. But yeah, and we went, and so this young lady had come and done the party, and it was kind of something that had just started in that area of Ohio, and this little group was kind of just getting together, getting it done, and the parents, like the little girl, she kind of wasn't into it. There wasn't really a program. It was just like a girl kind of showed up in a costume, and that was it.
The girl playing the princess, that is.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so anyway, she left, and our friends said to me, they were like, daggone, we should have just had you sing to her, because it seems like she's confused over what just happened. It was like little light bulb went on. And so I took $300, made a $300 investment, and bought a dress, a wig, came up with actual packages and actual plans of when you go to a party, because it's nice, like if one would go to Disney World and do a little meet and greet or something.
Sure.
But when you're paying a lot of money to have an individual one-on-one experience, you want it to be tailored to your child and your special event. So came up with crafts and games and all these different things, and it was so funny. I just was literally going to I had a friend that said, hey, I'll if you want to dress up, try it out on my kid, let's have it at it, and I said, well, all right. And it was like, from word of mouth, it went crazy. And this was back in 2014. So
I remember,
next month will have been 8 years.
I remember watching it blow up. And I remember thinking, like, you ever watch someone else do something really cool and you're like, why didn't I think of that? You get mad. You get mad. You're like,
yeah. And you know what? It's crazy, Nick, because it really is like, I went through, I made sure I went through all the legal steps to make sure we didn't infringe on any copyrights to, I had, my sister's a lawyer.
Smart.
She was helping me look over all of my contracts, everything we did, because we wanted to do it the right way. And it was so funny because it started with me, but then immediately we brought on, numerous actors, and it grew into, we had 50 independent contractors all at once. It was wild, but
50?
Kind of like,
did you just
50.
say like 50?
50, yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah, we have been, and it's funny because you get kids that come in, young in high school that are in their show choirs and drama clubs that like it, and they stay through, and they will literally tell you, like, I feel like I'm getting a little old, but I still want to stick around and play a witch, or I want to be a
Right.
villain, or
That's awesome.
because we kind of built a culture with it, which was really cool. And now I literally have girls that are having kids that they want to do it when they get older.
Wow.
It's so cool. And yeah, but kind of like you said, whenever people all of a sudden see a good idea, they say, "Oh shoot, I should have thought of that."
I should
Well,
have
I'm
thought of
thinking
that,
of it
yeah.
now, so I'm gonna. And you would see people do it, and they would start infringing on a lot of copyright things, and
Do you
people
have
would
a
mess.
copyright, or are you talking about the
Oh,
copyright with the actors?
we are very careful to avoid any type of movie infringements, any
Sure.
company infringements. So we stay very clear of all that stuff. But, for instance, there were some companies that popped up that said, "Hi, we offer Elsa and Anna, and they'll sing 'Let It Go.'" And I was like, "Nope, can't do that.
Can't do that.
Can't do that."
It's
and
it's great that you mentioned that. I actually had a bride recently that I was DJing for, and because I send out a questionnaire for them to fill out with all their music and stuff that they want for their event. So to cut to the chase, she put a whole bunch of songs in there that she had found on YouTube, and they were like only on YouTube. They were by an artist that played a violin, and they were covering a song on a violin, not signed, no record, no. I mean, it was copywritten material, and I had to tell the lady, like, "Look, I'm ASCAP BMI licensed. I pay these royalties. I pay to have this license. If I can't play this material,
you pay to do it the right way and not go to court."
Exactly. I mean, I charge what I charge because I do it on the up and up, and like you,
Right.
And so it was funny because when I was talking to her, it was like a light bulb went off. She's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, that's illegal, isn't it?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's very illegal."
And you can do it for a while and maybe get away with it. But and when people would message me and say, "Is this your company? Is this one of your actors?" I would always say, no, there are many that, also, get into this type of an industry. But I just, and they would say, "Well, do you want us to say something? Are you going to say something?" No, it will
No.
take care of itself. And
Well,
it always does at the end of the day.
Well, here's what happens. So I don't know if you know this, and it's a common practice with the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, but also other agencies deal with music and other copyright do the same thing. So if one business rats out or tattletales on another business, here's what they do, and a lot of folks don't realize this. They also investigate.
Oh, look at you.
They investigate the business that made the complaint. So if you were like, "Oh man, my competitor, I can't stand them. They're jerks or whatever," and there's contention there, and you want to make a complaint. Well, guess what? Now you're getting audited too.
Absolutely.
So,
It's the truth. And even when you do things on the up and up, it's a pain to have to deal with that stuff. And at the end of the day,
For me,
I
it's
very much
expensive.
believe it takes care of itself.
For me, it's not so much a pain as it's expensive.
Yeah, amen to that too.
Because folks will, I don't know about you with Putnam Princess, and I'm sure this applies. For me, I'm probably one of the more expensive guys in the entire state of West
Right.
Virginia. Now,
As you should be.
is a little of that because of my experience, 20 years, things I've done? Sure, I factor that in. But the major percentage of that is because I do it on the up and up. And I'm sure with Putnam Princesses, if you're doing things legally in the correct way, that is not cheap. And some people don't understand the business side of entertainment. There is
Right.
cost. So,
Yeah, and Nick, you bring up a really good point. I mean, that is something that, we do things the right way, but at the same time, due to the area we are in, the demographic that we are reaching, and in this tri-state area, it's a lower income area in a lot of places, and that is understandable. And that was a mission when we started. It was unbelievable how many people said, I'm never going to be able to take my kid to Disney World. This is as close as they're going to get. We really strive to try to put things out there that no matter what you're bringing home at the end of the day, you can afford to have a one-on-one experience and bring that to your party. If not, if for any reason you can, and we try to stay very affordable. We offer free events throughout the year. We do charity events. We are constantly putting that out there. And I mean, I think in our time of 8 years being in business, I have maybe had a half a dozen people say, I just can't afford even your smallest package. Ours, we start at $60.
Oh,
And
wow.
that for an in-person appearance. And
And I hate to be nosy, but the business guy inside of me, because I know my risk of investment, I know my return on investment, I know once 40% of it. If I do an event, say I charge $1,000 or $2,000 for an event, 40% of that is gone just in taxes.
Gone.
Okay, and that's not including like insurance, gear, music licensing, things of that nature. So.
Yeah.
I feel like I have to explain my next question with all that.
No,
what is your profit on $60 after you pay the talent?
Yeah. So, I mean, literally, it really is a thing where some of those parties, when we see what the situations are, what some of the families are doing, I honestly, I don't mind if we kind of eat some of that.
Wow.
Because the majority of people book more than that.
Wow,
when they book
incredible.
a one-on-one appearance. Now we have mileage fees, but those go directly to our actors.
Yeah.
Our actors are paid a percentage. They also get to keep all of their tips. So they do. I mean, I literally, every time I interview someone for this job, I always say, oh my gosh, I'm glad to invite you into the fold and be part of it, because when I was your age, would have been my dream job.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
And so sometimes, we just don't make a big profit. Where we usually tend to make our money is, okay, sure, we're only going to make $25 off of this party, but there's also going to be 8 or 9 other families there, and they're going to see that. They're going to book from it. So we just invest our time in that.
Word
and
of mouth.
Been worth it for 8 years.
Yeah, like word of mouth, because you're reaching the other families that are in attendance.
Yeah, and we have not put, actually since the pandemic, I have not put $100 into advertising. It has strictly been word of mouth since pandemic, because we've been coming back into everything very cautiously.
And that segues into one of my questions for tonight. How did the pandemic and that period affect Putnam Princesses and your acting career?
Yeah, so, the Princesses, we were, we kind of did what everybody else did. We went virtual. We did a lot of Zoom visits, a lot of story times.
Oh, that's cool.
Every pre-recorded videos. We did a lot of that.
Oh, that's smart.
And it kept us going. Yeah, and, and the girls did a great job keeping that alive, coming up with fun ideas like that. I mean, obviously, it's not as profitable. That's what it is at the end of the day. But it was, it kept us relevant. It kept us in the conversations. It kept people scheduling for when we could do in person again. And then when we did go in person again, we had COVID guidelines in the mix. So whatever people's comfortability, what a tough word, level was, we could honor that. And we still do that because, obviously COVID is still around. It's going to be around. It's part
forever.
Of our lives.
Yep.
So
never going away.
Never. So, we had to approach it like everybody else did. And now we're about back to normal. It's, not like we were at the very height of everything. But like I said, we've not put any advertising, anything out there lately, just because we have been going back into it so cautiously.
That's smart.
And I think because we have, it's paid off.
That's smart.
And the same goes for the world of theater too. It truly is. I actually went to New York a month ago, and I was so excited because I was going to go see The Music Man, and I had been dying to see Hugh Jackman and Sutton Foster in it. Both of them had already
Looks like
COVID.
A great show.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And went to it, and Sutton Foster was out that night with COVID for the second time. Hugh Jackman had just gotten back from having COVID a second time, and 9 other company members were out with their swings in place that night.
Wow.
So, it just speaks to the Broadway community, the way that they have truly, so many times. One thing that absolutely kills me is when people say, oh, I'm just in the ensemble. They were just in the ensemble. There's no just.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if one person is out of place, if one person is not there, it throws everything off. And every piece is important. And I have been blessed to have some lead roles. But literally the last show that I was in the ensemble, and I loved every minute of it.
Sure.
And there's nothing wrong with someone taking a big role and then stepping back into something that may be considered a smaller role. I did that one because I really wanted to learn how to tap dance, and Lord have mercy, I still need to work on it. But I was really glad that I did the last show so that I could learn that.
What's funny about tap dancing, I remember being probably 5-6 years old, and my grandparents, now they had a small little modest house in Milford, Ohio, and they had a 1-car little garage. Now when they bought that house brand new in 1958, it was like moving on up. It was legit, right? So they my grandpa put this huge piece of plywood down, and they would go out there, and my grandma would tap, and my grandpa would clog.
Love it.
Yeah, I remember that. They'd be out there like tapping and stuff. It was awesome.
Clogging is awesome. That is all I had going in when I was learning to tap a few months ago was my clogging background from high school show choir. I had a little bit, and that's all I had to go off of.
No,
so
they were from Somerset, Kentucky. We were some what you call rednecks. That was clogging and some bluegrass. You know what I mean? My grandpa had the banjo playing, ding, 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 ding. He was in there clogging and stuff. That's what it was.
That's right.
That was
that
down home stuff. What you know about that? What you know about that down home stuff, Rudy?
That's right. Tell me you're from Appalachia without telling me.
Exactly
you're from
right. And it's funny how you have those sweet memories, you know what I mean, that come together,
right?
And kind of
really
tie life together,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what it sticks with you.
So your new job, and I can only imagine, and again, I don't like to talk about myself a whole lot in the podcast, but I know when SiriusXM called me, and I know when these national radio shows called me, not to be a radio personality, because I was kind of out of that phase, but to be a DJ and a producer for some of their mix shows and music content. I just remember like hanging the phone up going, is this real life?
It's real.
Is this actually did I just get off the phone with an executive programmer for SiriusXM New York? Did I just get that call? So walk me through how that happened and who you're working for now.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I totally feel you. That's what I've been feeling for this past week because I'm just a week in at this point, and like I said, it was kind of a process of going through all the channels, making sure I was the person that fit the job. It wasn't, I was blessed to have wonderful people that recommended me, and thankfully had experience in my background in both theater and in marketing, which is what they needed. But the American Theater Guild, we have 15, soon to be 16 different markets, absolutely gorgeous theaters all the way from Toledo to Honolulu. And it just absolutely blew my mind because I was looking, I thought, okay, obviously it's going to be cool to work with some Broadway tours. Who are we talking here though? And I looked and I see Hamilton, Wicked, The Lion King, Book of Mormon. I mean, I'm just blown away. And I thought, do I really get to work with all of those? I mean, is this just kind of an on and off type thing? And literally 3 days into the job, you're thrown right in with the Hamilton tour.
That is incredible.
I was absolutely blown away.
Are they coming local? Is Hamilton coming here?
Hamilton is actually going to be in Toledo in less than 2 weeks now.
Wow.
So that will be my closest one. So I'll be going to Toledo here in a couple weeks to see that. It's a 2-week engagement. And then they have, I believe, Jesus Christ Superstar and Lion King coming in soon after that. And then, I've got theater in South Bend as well that I work with, but it stretches clear over into, like I say, all the way to Honolulu. So, but Toledo's Toledo and South Bend are who I'm really concentrating on right now.
I would almost beg you for tickets for my wife and I to Hamilton. We love it. And,
hey man, I have never actually gotten to go see it in person because I've always been going to other shows or had obligations. So it's going to kind of be a first time experience for me. And I hated to admit this to my colleagues, but I was like, guys, I honestly, when Hamilton first came out, I was like, what is this crap? Because I was very snobby, this is not Broadway. This is not West Side Story. Like, what is this?
This is not the exquisite Cats of Broadway.
Oh, yeah.
The Cats.
Yeah, you know what? For me being a cat lady, I'm sorry, Andrew Lloyd Webber. It just ain't my deal. And but Hamilton, once I learned everything, Lin-Manuel Miranda's a genius.
Will you get to meet him?
Oh my God, I wish. They probably
Oh,
wouldn't trust me around him. I would absolutely
I
just fall
wouldn't.
down, kiss his
I,
feet or
I,
something.
if we're being honest, I wouldn't trust you around him either.
I would make an absolute fool of myself. I mean, that man, I've never seen a quicker wit, talent, intelligence. He's just amazing.
What is the
And
chance of getting one of our beautiful West Virginia theaters on that roster? Say, I mean, is there anything more iconic in this region than the Keith Albee?
oh my gosh, I mean,
So
I adore,
would
that's the most gorgeous theater.
would
Ugh.
would that be maybe something up for a conversation to bring some of these major shows here?
Yeah, so the American Theater Guild is always looking to add additional markets. But again, we're sort of like that third party between the national tour and the theater in the market.
Sure.
So you have to make sure that it will jive with the tours, the roadmap of the tour. And a lot of
Routing.
times, yeah,
Yeah.
routing. And so
Yeah.
a lot of it really is just, is it going to be convenient and conducive for the tour, for the actors, everything? So sometimes West Virginia works with that, sometimes it doesn't. And so right now, like some of the ones I have going through Toledo, like Hamilton, it's not conducive on that route.
Hmm.
However, that is not to say it couldn't be in the next year or two.
Sure.
It's ever changing, and cast change, crews change, all of that is, it is very fluid. So it could be something that very well could happen. I mean, Hamilton would be. I would love to see Hamilton come to our region. That would be great. I mean, I'm more than willing and happy to drive 4.5 hours,
Yeah,
to see it
absolutely.
here in a few weeks. But of course, like that's not just typical around here. I mean, we want to have the convenience, and we deserve that convenience out here in West Virginia to have those kind of shows here.
And I think we do have some iconic venues where some of those
Oh,
shows
God,
could
yeah.
fit. The Clay Center definitely
Yes,
could fit. The Keith
absolutely.
Albee, it could fit. And honestly, in some ways, excuse me, that bourbon's coming back a little bit.
Just get it out, man. You're good.
Cheers. I think in some ways, Charleston Coliseum and Convention Center
Oh, absolutely.
could absolutely
And
facilitate.
they have actually been doing kind of, they've been calling it sort of a Broadway series here lately, but it's been more straight plays or things that are, conducive to the stage, but aren't full scale musical productions. Now, obviously, you have co productions like with the Light Opera Guild and others, but actual national touring shows of musicals have not typically been there. But that is not to say that that could not happen.
Now, you did one at the Coliseum, didn't you?
I've done a few shows there with the Clay Center,
Some reason I
excuse
thought
me,
you
with the
acted in.
Charleston Light Opera Guild. Pardon me. And let's see, I think I've done
But
4 shows at the
but you
Coliseum
acted there,
at the
right?
theater.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, I remember
I have
seeing the
done.
flyers, and we have a mutual friend, Lauren Meyer. She acts in those as well.
And she's amazing.
Yeah, she does a fantastic job, and I think that's where I saw seen the flyer where you were. I don't know if you were a lead role. I think you were. Was it Dolly? Did you do Dolly at the Coliseum and Convention Center?
I did. I
Okay.
did. It was 9 to 5 a musical. I did it
There
there.
it is. Yeah,
And I think I've done 4 or 5 productions there. I've done, I think, 9 shows. I think it's 9 shows now, 8 or 9 shows total with the Light Opera Guild. But my very first show was there, which was Legally Blonde. My second show was at the Clay Center. It was Hello Dolly. The third one was 9 to 5, and it was back at the Coliseum again. And I actually had not. Yeah, I've done 4 total there. We did Oklahoma there in 2019, and for the 70th anniversary of the Opera Guild, and then was just back there just a few months ago when we did Something Rotten at the Coliseum too.
Awesome. So, do
Yeah.
you have any roles or any acting stuff on the horizon you're looking at doing?
Oh, there's always something like that, Nick. The next production I know that the Opera Guild is doing, which they should be announcing their new 2023 season here very soon. Typically, they do it within kind of late August, early September. Which I'm very blessed. I also get to work in marketing with the Opera Guild and help them with social media marketing.
Oh,
I
cool.
work with them and with the Huntington Symphony Orchestra, so I still get to dabble in stuff around here too. I'm a professional dabbler, and but yeah,
I can relate.
yeah, and so actually, you know what I'm talking about. But next weekend in Slack Plaza, which I love that gorgeous new area.
It
It's
is.
just been
It's very nice.
wonderful,
It's
especially
awesome.
for the arts organizations, musical acts. It's just wonderful. But we're actually going to kind of revive our 5-person musical review. It's a Stephen Sondheim review called Putting It Together, and it's going to be
Cool.
free to the public in Charleston on August 27th. It's called Putting It Together. And so be doing that, and then literally the very next week, I'm planning, if the good Lord's willing, to audition for The Music Man, which is going to be the next co-production that the Opera Guild does with the Play Center. But we'll see what happens.
So, and for those listening or even watching, I'll put all of this information in the show notes, so you'll be able to see who Rudi is working with. You'll also be able to see links to the Charleston Light Opera Guild, the shows that are coming up, and also Rudi's social medias. So you'll be able to go in the show notes, and if you want to check out anything we're talking throughout the podcast, you can just click the link. It'll take you right to all the information, and you can see their upcoming shows too. So the beauty about podcasts is these sometimes last and probably will last forever. So someone might be listening to this a year or two from now, and some of this content might be outdated, but they can always refer back to the show notes, click the link, and see what is current at that time. So that's always nice.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I highly encourage anybody, anytime, it doesn't matter when you're listening, you're always going to be able to go and look at the American Theater Guild and our Broadway shows that are current, that are on the horizon. You can do the same thing for the Charleston Light Opera Guild, for the Huntington Symphony. I mean, it is constant. I mean, like I say, everyone, there is this generic kind of stereotypical, oh, it's West Virginia, it's Appalachia. But I mean, our arts community truly is really strong out here. And, it's not New York City. Not many places are New York City. But we have got a wonderful community out here, and we don't always have to bring in national talent. We have incredibly talented local people out here, and like I say, I mean, you'll be able to come out if you're listening to this, currently. Next weekend, Slack Plaza, the Opera Guild will be doing a Stephen Sondheim review. They just closed Footloose over the weekend.
I saw that.
Yeah, great job, great young cast, which makes me so happy to see so many people that are going to be, that are in their late teens. Mm-hmm. And hopefully they're going to be sticking around for more. And then they'll be, in their mid-30s like me and still doing it.
Mid-30s. Honey,
mid-30s.
I just hit the 40 club 2 weeks ago.
Oh, you don't look a day over 25, sweetie.
You shut your lying mouth. Yeah, August 3rd, I hit the big 40. So.
Oh my gosh!
I did a podcast here. You could go back and refer to with my daughter.
Wait! I did watch it actually because you had your little one.
It was
an
absolute train wreck. But she wanted to do it, and I said, "I'll put it up, whatever." And it got like thousands of views of my daughter making me look like an idiot, which is fine. That's fine.
Because that's what the people want to see. Give them what they want.
So you are notorious if you follow Rudi on social, which I do on the socials, and like I said in the show notes, we'll put some links. You are notorious, especially at events, for dressing up and being a little wild, wild.
For is that with? I guess we can see by the closet I have options.
So segue to this past weekend, an event that I've been a part of for years, and one of my best friends in the DJ industry was performing, so I had to go show my boy some love, and I had to show the event some love. We're talking about Girls Night Out West Virginia, which I had Jacqueline Stump on the podcast, I want to say 2 months ago, talking about the event. And I'm sitting there, EJ is doing his thing, and I'm back on the side stage. I'm like, I don't get to hear DJs DJ very often. So when I get to hear another guy rock a set, I'm like, it's like a kid in a candy shop. Like, I love it. And he had a drummer with him, and they were vibing together. I mean, as a music nerd, that was awesome for me.
Oh, it was awesome.
So I'm sitting there, I'm vibing, man. They're doing these segues, and he's crushing some scratch and stuff. And I'm like, oh, and I look down, and there's like a blonde Elvis. And I'm like, why is there a blonde Elvis on the front row? So behind...
Why shouldn't there be?
Why shouldn't there be, yeah. So behind said blonde Elvis is our friend that we mentioned, Lauren Meyer. And I was like, oh, snap, there's Lauren. So I ran down the stairs. I run over to the dance floor, kind of weave my way through. And I go to Lauren. I'm like, what's up, girl? She gives me a big hug. And I was like, is that
Tis
Rudi?
I.
Is that Rudi? And Lauren goes, yeah, that's Rudi. I was like,
Yep.
what up, girl? So, no, you rocked it. I'm just giving you a hard time. My question is what inspires a lot of your looks, a lot of your things that you do, and what inspired Elvis this past weekend?
Oh my gosh. What I have, like I said, my family is extremely important to me, and they brought me up on old school. So it was Elvis, it was Southern gospel, it was Broadway. It was not any current stuff. Like when everybody else, it was so funny. We actually, when we had the Beach Boys at the Clay Center about a year ago,
which is awesome,
and Mike Love was there, I walked up to him. I said, "You were the only artist other than Elvis I was allowed to listen to in elementary school, along with Southern gospel." And he's like, "Well, I'm glad I could be that person."
Yeah, someone's got to do it.
Someone's got to do it, because everyone in my age in third grade was like, "Play the Spice Girls." I was like, "Put on Surfing USA."
Yeah.
So it was, I've just always, that has been, I was born way too late. That has always been my era, my genre of music. And so I was very defensive about Elvis growing up. Like, everyone always wanted to make the jokes, "Oh, he died on the toilet" and stuff. And I mean, I would literally get lit.
Hey, listen, there's not one person listening or watching this that has not come close to death on a toilet. So
we have all been there, man.
We've all had Taco Bell at 3 a.m. after a long night at the bar.
Yeah,
it's happened. So anyways,
it's inevitable. So don't act like you're above it, people. But like I was just so, I just absolutely loved him. My parents took me, made the trek to Graceland when I was in middle school. I mean, I just was never one to go with the trends or the crowd. It was just so funny. But yeah, I just always have been one of those that I don't know. I guess I never feel like I'm a very stylish person. I'm a really costumey person. And so I just...
See, I think of you the other way. I think of you as very stylish.
Oh, thank you. I don't
That's
feel like
coming
that,
from I'm a guy who has, like, I wear polos and t-shirts. Like, that's...
You guys have it so easy. I appreciate it. I am very much... I'm a big thrifter. I'm a big eBayer.
Sure.
I am very secondhand friendly.
Poshmark?
Yes, I like Poshmark a lot. I mean,
my
honestly,
wife made the fatal mistake of showing me Poshmark.
Oh, it's that you go down that rabbit hole, you never come out again.
Thousands of dollars later.
Yep. You're like, but it's so much cheaper than retail. And then you lose your mind. And
but anyways, I'm sorry. I have ADD. It's easy for me to get off topic.
Not at all. No, it's way easier than just listen to myself talk with my tiny microphone.
This whole time I've been watching, you have held that tiny mic for 42 minutes. 42 minutes you've held that tiny mic.
I love this tiny mic. I love it.
Hey, why stop now?
I'm going to do a whole suspicious mindset with this tiny mic.
Oh, please tag me when you do. I want to see that.
We'll do.
That is awesome.
But I just have always been, I'm a big thrifter, but yeah, all of my husband's always like, "So what icon are you going to dress up as this year?" Because it's literally like, I have done Elton John, I've done David Bowie, I've done Elvis. I think Freddie Mercury's on the horizon, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, I have just always been really costumey about everything. And when we came out of Girls' Night Out the other night, and several of my friends, the Opera Guild, had let out Footloose at the same time, and both events were going on at the same time and let out at the same time. And some of my friends were standing out there that had been to Footloose, and my friend Cameron shook his head and he goes, "You couldn't just wear a sequin cocktail dress, could you? You just couldn't do it." No. And I was like, if I was going to a city council meeting, I'd wear a sequin cocktail dress, but it just wasn't for me tonight. So,
anyone who knows you knows that was not the correct answer. You were going to be... but you pulled it off, and again in the socials, we'll tag your TikTok, because you did like you woke up, your hair was kind of messy, no makeup, and then like it snapped too, and you were like Elvis, kicking
Yeah.
and you're pulling your
Ready to
top
go.
up and everything. It was all craziness.
Oh
so.
yeah, man, I'm ready to go. And it's so funny. My friend, I have to plug one of my favorite local businesses. I absolutely love
Sure,
the Olive
absolutely.
Tree
There's no
in
rules
South
here.
Charleston. Yeah. Okay. Well, I love the Olive Tree in South Charleston, and Michael and Kim Drews. They're just great. And the next day, Michael Drews messaged me and he said, "Hey, Pelvis, I have some questions I gotta ask you real quick." And I was like, "Right." He goes, "Okay, well, first of all, I have to ask, were you like totally lit last night, or was that?" I was like, "Buddy, I was sober as a rock." That's
And
just me.
if you're listening, I can testify she was sober and she was feeling herself as Elvis.
That is,
100%.
I was someone else. I was just
Yeah.
someone else that night. So it was, I just have a good time. Like I said, EJ was killing it. I felt
EJ
he
did a great job. Shouts to
just went
EJ.
at it.
You know,
Yeah,
that is something that, and EJ and I were actually just talking today. I think it's a maturity thing. In my 20s, I can remember DJing a lot of nightclubs, opening for some national artists, doing radio, things like that. And I remember if someone else got a little bit of the spotlight or got an event or a gig or something that I really wanted, I remember that used to really tick me off, or like my ego would trip,
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's life or just getting older, but now there are few things, maybe outside of my kids, that give me more joy and make me happier than seeing my friends
Yeah.
do some incredible stuff and seeing EJ up there just killing it. I was sitting back on the side of the stage just so happy and just vibing with him and watching him do his thing. And do you feel that way sometimes watching maybe some folks in the theater world?
Absolutely. I do.
Yeah.
And Nick, I don't know. I mean, maybe some of it is age and maybe some of it is just personalities and how people are raised in their industries. I don't know. But no, I very much feel the same way. We've all not gotten the gig. We've all not gotten the part that we wanted. And, sometimes you just have to look and go, I wasn't the fit. And you have to look at what the overall vision is. I will tell you the perfect example. And going back to Lauren Meyer again, my absolute dream bucket list role was being Eliza Doolittle in My Fair Lady.
Oh, okay,
it was
yeah.
my all-time favorite. And I went and auditioned for it, was in the final callbacks for it. And then I remember I got that call that night and they said, no, Lauren Meyer got it. And Tiny Mike. And it just got me. I remember I just got in the bathtub and I was just sitting there. And then I sat there and I had my moment. And then I went, you know what? If I was going to lose out to anybody, that's the person. And I messaged her the very next day and I said, girl, I will tell you right now, I was bummed when I got that news. But if there is anybody else that I know is going to appreciate that role and will do it justice, it is you. And I hope you break all the legs, man.
That's
and that is
awesome.
in a good way.
And that's
she
what
was
it's
like,
about.
You have no idea how nice it is to do that. Because there are some people, whether it's community theater, whether it's Broadway or not, it's just, I didn't get the part. I don't like it.
Yeah.
But you have to look at overall vision. You just have to.
And that I think that's true with any industry. I've experienced that in radio. Without going into a nasty negative deep hole. That's one reason I decided to really never. Well, I don't want to say never. Never's a hard word. But, really put myself out there to be a radio personality again because what I call egos. And I think that's kind of the same thing, people. But the thing is, the folks that support one another, the folks that care about one another, the folks that want to see each other grow and want to see each other rock this event, rock that event, do this wedding, do that, do this, get this acting part, the folks that support one another. If you look, those are the folks that succeed, and those are the folks that have a career. So one
it
thing
is community over competition.
100%, without a doubt. And one last thing I want to talk to. I usually try to keep these around an hour, and we're at 15 minutes now, but there is no time constraint. I don't know if you've listened to any other podcasts. One thing I've always said.
Oh yeah, I didn't miss out on Addison. I mean, I was gonna hear.
I love that
what
girl.
was said about your birthday.
I tell you, I could buy every lottery ticket on planet Earth and try to win every lottery, and it wouldn't be as amazing as being chosen to be that girl's daddy. I'm telling you,
she is a special kid, man.
She is incredible, and I thank God every day that He chose this moron to be her dad. So
I think he knew what he was doing. It all worked out the way it should.
But do I remember, and shake some cobwebs here, I feel like we've either talked about this or maybe I saw it on social media, but are you a member of a church or do you go to a church? I can't remember.
I do. I go to Elizabeth Baptist Church, and it is in Putnam County. It's just outside of Poca, a little small community there. And I have been there since I was a teenager.
Oh, wow.
And and it is just a wonderful place. It is an old school King James Version only, read hymn books. We sit in the back row. And,
Sure.
that has just always been, I am very supportive of, obviously contemporary churches, whatever speaks to you, whatever is best for your spiritual journey. That has just always been home.
Absolutely. And correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm not trying to get too deep here. So at any point you want to say this is none of your business, you can absolutely say it, and you're not going to hurt my feelings. I can even edit it out if you like. But I feel like I remember a conversation being had between us, or maybe I read it online. There was a season about 10 years or so ago where you went through an unfortunate divorce. And I feel like I remember there being a conversation where that church community and that church body is what really lifted you up and gave you the support and the, you were going through one of the most difficult times a human can endure.
Yeah.
And they helped you through it. Am I remembering that right? I feel like there was something there.
They did. They were wonderful to me. And, I not only when that was happening, my church was good for me. And a lot of times, I think Christians can get a bad rep and say, we interpret the Bible this way. You shouldn't get a divorce. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. And I was very blessed. Both of us were, me and my ex-husband. We were very blessed that, people were understanding, and they were, they were very good to us. They were especially, understanding of me. I appreciated that. And not only was my church, but I always go back to, honestly, my theater family is very strong too.
Sure.
I remember when I was moving, all of that during
it's
that
a community.
Time, they're out there and they're helping me move all my stuff. It's just, I've been very blessed, and I think everyone goes through it in their lives, and I know you have.
Oh, absolutely.
I think everybody has that. You lose people that you thought were. And I'm just not talking about spouses, but friends that you always have been with you for decades or more. And then all of a sudden something stupid happens and you lose them or whatever you're cast aside. But then it makes you really value and appreciate the people that truly have stuck by you.
Absolutely.
And I've had a lot of that, within, the last year of my life. We all go through those seasons, and, you just got to find the right mix of people. And when you do, man, you're blessed.
You're blessed. And I don't mean to bring that up to shed light on a tough subject, but I just remember the church being a major part of that journey, and I've shared a lot of my journey here recently. I don't know if you've picked up or seen any of that.
Yes, I have. I think
I'm rocking
wonderful.
the Bible Center hat here.
I noticed.
And people might be like, you're drinking bourbon. Listen, y'all, this is the only thing I'm going to say. My Savior turned water into wine. So shut your mouth. So anyways, no, it's been a great journey, and my segue through that is to say, the support system and the community and the care. We as humans, the way that we are designed, I think, long for and strive for that human connection. That's just how we're made up. And it's very easy to, when you're going through a very difficult season in your life, to feel all alone, to feel like there's no one there, there's no one around. I'm doing this alone, and I got to do this by myself. And, something through my childhood I've talked about, in the past is, unfortunately, they diagnosed me with PTS. And I always say, listen, I was never in the military. There are folks out there that have like real PTSD. I don't feel like I need those associated with me because there are people out there that did a whole lot harder, more difficult things than I've ever done. So I don't want to take any with it. But it's a different type of trauma. And my trauma is based off of parenting with religion. And believe it or not, I've actually been asked to speak at some churches.
I saw that. I think that's wonderful.
I'm terrified, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
You know what? And you know what? It'll be a blessing to you.
Sure.
But there may just be that one person out there that goes, oh my gosh,
yeah,
that's exactly what I needed to hear. And that makes it completely worth it.
Well, and so my segue with that is, whenever we are in those difficult seasons and in those difficult times, having a community, and I refer to church as that community that can help us heal, to help us get through that time, is such a blessing. And I turned my back on God, for lack of better way to put it, for 22 years, and I didn't have that community. And here in the last 6 months, now I do. And I realize how important that is to have. No matter, and anyone listening to this, I've said this a million times, look, I'm not going to preach at you. That's just not me. I'm not a preacher. At least not yet. I hope not. But if you have a church down on the corner and it's a little bitty church, a little bitty steeple, go sit in there on a Sunday and check it out. See how it feels. You know, if you have questions, ask. There are no stupid questions. And what I hope is people will find hope, and they will find peace, and they will find a community like you and I have, where because look, we're human. We all experience life, and life has its ups, life has its downs, life has its bad times. And if you have that community, especially people that really do care about you, they genuinely care about you, and they're there for you. I cannot explain how much easier that is to get through this thing we call life. Does that make sense?
Really? Oh my gosh, of course, it absolutely does. I mean, you are literally preaching to the choir, for lack of a better.
You can sing for me, girl. Give me an amen. No, I'm kidding. The preachers I grew up with were like, that's my best Pentecostal impersonation.
That was, I could tell by the inflection, definitely.
But no, it really has been awesome. And so we started going in Easter, which Easter was like April 17th.
Yep.
And then by the beginning of August, I'm playing on the worship team at Bible Center. I had someone the other day look at me.
Mysterious ways.
I had a pastor at Bible Center look at me and goes, I want you to understand, this never happens. I'm not stroking your ego. I'm not, patting you on the back or anything. This goes to God and the glory of God. I want you to understand that this never happens. You understand that, right? And I'm like, I guess now I do.
Now.
So, but it's been awesome. And
I think that's wonderful, Nick. That's awesome.
Oh, thank you.
I've definitely been following it on socials, and it's
been a blessing.
I think you've been seeing me check the likes. I mean, I think it's awesome, and there's just kind of no telling when that is going to strike you, when something is going to finally speak to you that reverberates. And whether it's been gone for 22 years or if you've always been in it but your light's kind of dulled, it's never too late, and the right thing can just light a fire again. Well,
the one thing that I was taught, and I'm intrigued maybe to get your opinion on this, if we could go down the theology rabbit hole for a minute, and there's no one's feelings are going to be hurt here. Everything's open for interpretation. And that's one thing I always feel kind of, is the word cognizant.
Cognizant.
Yeah, just aware. I was raised. Oh, you got to get a light? We can wait and we can edit.
No, you're good, bro. I'm just like,
because all I see is sequins and blonde hair. That's all I see.
It's that, yeah. Let me hold up. I know.
What kind of light? What do you have there?
Oh, it's my little ring light.
Look at you. All my lighting contraptions is done by my photographer wife.
Of course.
Look at you. That's much better. Yeah, we talked so long it went dark, didn't it?
I know, right? I was like, oh, it'll be fine. I'll just use this natural light by the window here.
My wife is actually right over here giving me an evil look. What are you looking at me like that
for? Cal? Hey, Cal.
No, you cannot do that. She wants to start something that makes noise over here. I'm like, no. Hey, Rudy says, what up, Cal? She said, hi.
No, girl.
No, something I'm always cognizant of, back on track, is I never want to make anyone feel like I'm belittling or talking down about their belief structure.
Yeah, sure.
But I grew up Pentecostal, very charismatic, and that caused me a lot of problems in life, and it caused me a lot of trauma, a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression. It caused me a lot of problems with relationships as I grew older, a lot of conflict, and I had to work through that. So I don't say any of that to completely demean that theology, but I tie this in with I was raised. What you have your salvation, and then if you sin, this would have been a sin growing up. You are no longer in salvation. You're essentially going to hell. And I believed that way for years. And you said you're like dolls over the 22 years. You lose that light a little bit, and it brought this thought to my mind. Through that 22 years. I'm a firm believer now that once we are in grace, we are always in grace, and we always have that salvation. Here's why. Through that whole 22 years, I always had that voice.
Yeah.
That voice was always there, and that voice was always talking to me. And I thought I was hallucinating, like taking mushrooms that I never took, right? I thought I was making stuff up in my own head. I just thought I was, just being an idiot. But as I look back, I'm like, no, that was the Lord being like, listen up, you idiot. Like listen, stop being a moron and wake up, and so I don't know that light ever dims. I believe once you accept the Lord, He's with you, and the Holy Spirit's with you. Even if you turn your back on Him like I did, He's still like, and the best picture that was given to me was, if your daughter makes you mad, Nick, are you going to turn your back on her and have nothing to do with her? Not at all.
Still your daughter.
Are you going to be like, hey, listen, come here, hey, right here, look at me, and try to have that conversation, because what do you want for her? You want the best for her. You love her unconditionally. And that's when it was like, light bulb. Okay, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
no, our pastor always calls it, sometimes the Lord takes you out behind the woodshed. Like you just have to have that wake up call. And it doesn't mean He wasn't there with you in those 22 years by any means. It just, just like a rebellious child, you try to stray, you go on, you're a prodigal son, you're a prodigal daughter. But if you truly did accept Christ, then, no, He is always there. Once you are in grace, you are always in grace. And if, and I think there are people that have doubts, like, was I ever truly saved? The great news is that if you weren't, if somehow you did not truly believe or you didn't understand, you can always, right now at the drop of a hat, just say, God, if I never really truly understood or trusted you, just know I do now. I'm there now.
Absolutely.
And that's all it takes. That
is literally all it takes. And, I had John King on the podcast last week. He's the executive pastor of Bible Center.
Yeah.
And you will not find a better dude in the entire state of West Virginia. And people sometimes associate the term pastor with like a stuffy, stuck-up kind of...
Yeah, they do.
This dude golfs, he rafts, he plays soccer. He wears in his bio, I put unofficial Vans model. He rocks Vans at church every week. Like,
love it.
He's awesome. And I mention him because he said one of the most poignant things I've heard in a long time, and it hit me like a smack in the face, because it goes with my Pentecostal upbringing. Is Jesus is not mad at you. And he said that like 6 times. Like, he looked around the congregation and said, Jesus is not mad at you.
Yeah.
Jesus is not mad at you. And he just kept saying it. And, I was raised with, if you sinned, there was wrath. And He was mad at you. When the reality is, He's really not. And I think that is something that a lot of people really need to hear. And whether or not you buy into the Christian theology or ideology or religion. The fact of the matter is there's a lot of hard religion out there, and it's hurtful. It can cause a lot of trauma. I'm an example of it. But the fact, the resonating fact is that he's not mad at you. He's always there hanging out. And even he sometimes goes, you know what? My fan club can sometimes be a little, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but
Because at the end of the day, that fan club is still human.
Still human, 100%.
And they are imperfect.
100%. Without doubt. And what's cool is through all this, you know, I've kind of rekindled my relationship to who I call my dad. I'm lucky to have two dads. I have my natural father, and then I have my stepdad of 30 years, and he was a pastor of our church. And we went astray there through a lot of those 22 years that I turned away because I was very bitter, a lot of resentment. And, you know, he actually came to church with me at Bible Center a month ago and checked it out. So it was kind of a nice kind of healing
absolutely.
moment.
That's awesome.
So I could get off on that. I could talk theology for hours.
Oh, no. I mean, I think it's great. It's good that people, you know, still want to talk about theology.
Sure. Well, and I tell you, I do have a speaking engagement booking coming up on, I'm looking at a text here from the guy who's scheduling me to speak. September 28th are the details I have now. And I'm going to be speaking to a group of like juniors and seniors, I believe, in high school. And here's what I want.
Put it in the show notes.
I will put it in the show notes. Absolutely. But and tell me what you think of this. Give me your professional opinion. What I would like to do when I speak to, say, young adults or adults that are parents and even teens is I want when they walk away from hearing my life story, my walk, what happened to me in the church as a youth, and then the decisions that I made in my 20s and 30s when I turned my back on it, and then coming back to, is it's a two-part thing I want to have happen. I want parents, when they walk out the door, to evaluate their parenting. I want them to evaluate to which they put religion in their discipline and in how strict and structured their home is, because it's very easy when you become charismatic, for lack of better words, to make things not easy for your children, borderline abusive, if we're being honest. And then for the teens that I'm going to speak to, what I would like is if there is a teen, because I was starting to feel these feelings when I was like 16, 17, this anxiety, this depression, this resentment, this bitterness, you know, setting in, it would be maybe an example of don't turn your back on your God, on your Lord, you know. Maybe have them evaluate a pathway, whether it be with a coach or a pastor or a friend or someone that they can work through some of that before they let it snowball into this. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of my plan at the moment. What do you think about that?
I think that's great. I mean, at the end of the day, too, you know, even when you have parents that are, you know, like you say, charismatic and they love their children, and sometimes it can be a little much. And I think that it is a really good thing that you're looking to target, not just, you know, hey, you know, kids, don't listen to your parents, you know that. No, it's nothing like that. You need to listen to your parents. They're your parents.
Sure.
But at the same time, they're not always right. You should respect them, but you should still try to understand where they're coming from, but also know, you know, and it's hard. Sometimes as a teenager, you say, this is right for me, and it's totally not. But you have to know when things are healthy and when they're not. And the fact that you're not just going to target teens, but also just say, parents, maybe it's worth looking at these things and reevaluating how you approach it, what you say. I think that you're hitting the two groups you need to. It's one thing to talk to one group or one age demographic, but it is way better when you can actually get both in the room at the same time.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really going to be a blessing that you'll be able to get them both at the same time.
And I hope so. It would be nice to have them both. And the one thing, it's like I told John King, the one word I want to stress the most, because it's the one word, and tell me if I'm wrong, It's the one word that changes everything is love.
Mm-hmm.
And I want parents, when they're incorporating religion and they're incorporating their faith, which is fine. It's great. I think it gives kids a great foundation. And I mean, statistically, they're probably not going to get into as much nefarious things as if religion wasn't part of their structure and their belief. And of course, knowing the story of Christ, but do it with more love and not so much more the discipline and hard, like beating over the head with it.
And that's not to say that you shouldn't be corrected when you do something wrong by any means, but
Oh gosh, yeah.
but there's a better way to approach some things, and otherwise you're going to do a lot more damage than you are temporary good.
Sure.
And it's something that all parents need to hear. And I'm definitely not someone that should be giving any parental advice because I don't have any kids. But I mean, from people I know, from my own experiences, everything, it's like I said, at the end of the day, we are all so
All human.
imperfect.
Yep.
So imperfect. But whenever you look and that's not just saying, I one thing I can't stand is when people say, oh, well, it's a sin if I think it. So, like if I don't like that guy, I could kill him. And at the end of the day, like a sin's a sin and that's it. And I'm like, no, that's not how that works. But that also gives me pause and makes me say, okay, but we're all sinning here. So
Absolutely.
Who am I to start looking at this person over here and saying they're a terrible person, they're doing everything wrong, when, like we say, there's a plank sticking out of my own eye and I'm sinning like crazy myself.
And you make a great point, and I've had this discussion with some pastors and stuff, and you talk about sin and we're all sinning. One thing that I do want to, bring light on, again, bourbon. I want to bring light on is I feel that we, and I say we as the church, okay, no matter what theology, no matter what denomination, if you believe in Christ and his life and what he did and what the Bible says, I don't care if you're Catholic, I don't care if you're Baptist, I don't care if you're Pentecostal, I say we as a church. I feel we have severely failed the LGBTQ community, severely failed them. And I wish and I hope and maybe I can get a voice, a platform where I can say, look, this is a Christian. I am a Christian and I don't hate you. I love you. Yeah. You're not disgusting to me. I love you, because so many times folks in that community have been told horrible things. No place here. Horrible things. And I've even asked this question: how many suicides or how many mental health problems have been contributed to or whatever by the church?
You said a big one for me right there too, Nick. I mean, mental health. That is something I've struggled with a long time, and I'm a person that for those that struggle with mental health issues, that can talk about it online openly and freely and find a platform, that is wonderful. And if that is good for them, that's great. I have never been one of those people. I've always been very quiet about it, but I am one that just is how I've been. But when someone wants to talk to me one-on-one about it, I'm very open about it. But I mean, I guess I'm saying it here openly, but I mean, yep, I have to take antidepressants. I have clinical depression.
I did too. There's nothing to be ashamed about that. I was on Lexapro for 2 years, and the only reason I stopped is it made my jowls bigger.
They do some weird things sometimes. It's so true.
But honestly, what really helped me was getting a counselor and a therapist and talking it out.
Same. And, it definitely, medication did help me, but therapy did a lot. And my aunt, actually, who was like a second mother to me, she passed away just a couple years ago, and it still is just very, very hard for me to
I'm
deal
sorry
with
to hear
sometimes.
that, yeah.
But shortly before she passed, I remember she had come over, and I had just started going to therapy and taking medication. And she came over and she had metastatic breast cancer. It had returned. She was clean for 10 years and it came back, and she came to visit me. And I was having just my normal post-show depression. I just finished Sound of Music, and it was like the biggest role I'd ever had. And it was just amazing. And I loved it. And then all of a sudden it was stripped from me. The pandemic set in. It was just, I was just a big mess. And
As you should have been. I don't think anyone could blame you for that.
yeah, it was, and I remember she came and she sat down by me on the couch, and I said, I know I should not be this upset and this depressed about this stuff. I said, for crying out loud, Kathy, you were sitting here and you were clean from cancer for 10 years. And here you are dealing with this. And here I am complaining, I miss my show. And she goes, Rudi, at the end of the day, what makes us sad makes us
Makes
sad.
us sad.
And it doesn't matter what the situation is or what you've been through. Everyone is different. And she was so good. And I mean, I'm sitting here, listening to her say this as cancer is just, eating away at her. And the fact that she said that to me was the most,
It hit home. It hit home to you.
It's hard to talk about it still.
Yeah.
I still just miss her. It meant so much to me because she's one of the strongest women I ever knew, from her family, from her business standpoint, for everything. She was just a powerhouse. And the fact she said that to me, it just really it solidified to me that it's okay to not be okay. And what makes you sad makes you sad. And so I'm very grateful that I've, entered into a realm where I was more comfortable talking about depression. Because I remember the day I came home and I had actually been diagnosed with clinical depression. I came through the door and I hugged my husband, Ryan, and I said, they said I'm clinically depressed. And he said, what can I do? And I said, there's nothing you can do. I said, and I feel bad saying it to you because I am so blessed because you are a good husband and we have a good life and we are very blessed people. It's just something that's not balanced in my brain.
And I think that is something with people who have personalities like us, like folks who get into entertainment, whether it be as a musician or, in broadcasting or theater as an actor. I think it comes with the type of personality that we have. So I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression. I was also diagnosed with PTS. I think when more people like us talk publicly about mental health, it's better. It does nothing but extend the collective understanding that you don't have to hide in the shadows. Because see, here's what happens. Here's my biggest fear. People hide in the shadows with their mental illness. They don't talk to somebody. They don't go and get any type of professional help. And then next thing you know, they're sitting there in their room with a gun in their hand, or worse, or if there is such a thing as worse, and if we as a collective, everyone who does suffer with some kind of something, because life sometimes sucks. If we could all say, hey, y'all, we've been there too. Like, there's ways to get out of it. You don't have to live in that place. You don't have to stay in that place. Tomorrow is brighter. Tomorrow is greener. The sky is bluer. People love you. That's not the way out. And I've always said, if I can help move that forward, I'm all about it. I did a show at the Appalachian Outpost a couple months ago. There was 3,000 people in front of me, opening for a band called Little Texas. I don't know if you ever heard of them.
A little band, yeah.
Yeah, a little band. And I'll share the story with you, and I'll let you go. I know it's getting dark and late, and the cats probably need fed. So
they're all good.
So I was DJing, and I saw the drummer and the techs and stuff coming on the stage, so I knew Little Texas was coming on, and they had given me a script to read to introduce them. So I wind up my last song, and I got people dancing, all this. And I take center stage, and I grab the microphone, and I'm thanking, the owners of the Appalachian Outpost gave me like a whole bunch of thank yous, sponsors, and then the script for Little Texas. So I started that spiel, like a minute, 60-second spiel. You know what it's like in the broadcasting world, 60 seconds. You know what it is to have it down to 60 seconds. So I'm doing that, and their production guy comes up to me and says, we're not ready, stall.
You love that, don't you?
I'm looking at 3,000 people going, what do I stall?
All right, so now's time for my stand-up routine.
Exactly.
And, then,
and I don't have that. So I'm like, all right. And the first thing that came to my mind was mental health. So I said, hey, folks, listen, when I was 14, I had a knife to my wrist and I was going to kill myself and I was going to go through with it. Like, it wasn't acting out for anyone for attention or anything. Like, I fully intended to cut my wrist that night. And a family member walked in, stopped me, and and through the rest of my life, I dealt with anxiety, depression. I had to get help for it. And I said that story to say, listen, you have crap, you have crap, you have crap, you have crap. We all have crap. Everybody has crap. There is somebody that loves you somewhere, no matter where it is, and they want to see you healthy. And it is absolutely okay to talk to somebody. Yeah. And so that was kind of my piece of trying to further that conversation and make it okay to talk about our crap. So that takes me a minute, right? So we're at 2 minutes now. Broadcasting world, 2 minutes. Okay, we're at 2 minutes. The guy comes back up, and I see their main guitarist back there messing with his guitar. Something's wrong with his guitar. So the production guy comes up. He goes, keep stalling. He's doing this, like stall. And I'm like, so what's the next thing I talk about? Of course, church. 3,000 people. And I'm like, listen, y'all, and I said the same thing I said to you. Like, I restarted my walk. And if you have a local church, just go sit in it. See if it feels right. That one don't feel right. Maybe check out another church. But it's always okay to ask questions. It could change your life. And what's crazy is in that moment when I said it could change your life, in that exact second, the production director goes, they're ready. How could that not have timed up?
Lined up perfectly.
More perfectly. And then I introduced them. So whenever, and I'm right there with you, whenever I get the opportunity to further and open that conversation to mental health and tell everybody we all have crap and it's okay to talk to somebody about it. It's okay. There's absolutely zero reason to be embarrassed. I really try to push that along. So thank you for sharing that with me. That means a lot.
Yeah. Well, I guess I really never have just said it publicly. I've just always privately talked to other people about it. But yeah, I mean, like I say, we've all got all got crap.
And you know what's great about you saying that? You did it privately. That's okay too. You don't have to be out and you don't have to be an idiot like this out here talking in front of everybody. If you're more comfortable doing it privately. My whole point is I want folks to be healthy, and I want folks to know that they're loved, and I want folks to be here on this planet and with their loved ones and not let mental health win. Or mental health issues win. So if that's
there are so many options, and although there is still a stigma and probably always will be, I do think that especially the last few years, that has begun to, become a bit more accepted. The more people that do talk about it, they say, oh my gosh, if this person is dealing with it, then maybe I'm just not a total weirdo for dealing with it myself. Sure. So I do think at least we're beginning to destigmatize, but it's a slow process. It's going to be, but we're going the right way.
We are definitely going the right way. Well, Rudi, I've kept you for an hour and a half now. And I thank you for doing this. And you've held that stupid tiny mic for an hour.
I know, the tiny mic. I was so happy to be able to finally use this, and we'll make a video link in the show notes of me doing Suspicious Minds with the tiny mic.
We'll have to on your next show, your next show that you're in that you're doing, we'll have to do like an update and get some details on your role and what you're doing. In the meantime, as we wrap things up, tell people where they can find you online. Tell them about your businesses. Plug everything you want to plug.
Yeah, sure. You can find me on, on Instagram. I'm Coach Rudi 44. I was a basketball coach back in the day with my dad, so I have stayed Coach Rudi 44 all these years. So you can find me there on Instagram, Rudi Arrowood on LinkedIn and whatnot. And then obviously I just have to say, support our arts out here in the community and, follow along with the American Theater Guild, the Charleston Light Opera Guild, the Huntington Symphony Orchestra, so many others. I mean, you don't have to look very far to find great arts organizations out here. And if you get a chance, if you're hearing this before August 27th, come out to Slack Plaza for a free show so you can experience the Light Opera Guild for the first time for free in Charleston. It's Stephen Sondheim's putting it together. Come out, check it out. And then come this fall, the Clay Center co-production with the Charleston Light Opera Guild doing The Music Man, and they'll be announcing their new season soon. So, follow all these guys on social media, support them. They've got followings that are continuing to grow, but we always need to see and spread a little more love for them because they're doing great things for
Absolutely.
us. We need it out here in West Virginia. We do.
Well, and what you guys doing is amazing for if you want to call it, rural community. Even though we do have millions of people around here, but it really is. We're just all spread out, and I think you guys are absolutely incredible. You, Lauren, and everybody do a wonderful job. So, and then Putnam Princesses, a little bit about that.
Parties, of course, if you're ever looking for any kind of children's entertainment, whether it's private parties, large entertainment, corporate events, anything like that, Putnam Princess Parties is where you can find us both on Instagram and on Facebook. So we have all kinds of, like I say, a ton of actors, a ton of characters to choose from. We'd love to be part of your celebrations. But like I say, just a professional meddler, master of none, just like to hang out. You'll find me if you want to.
Now, if I'm listening to this and I don't know what you mean by professional actor and different characters you could choose from, give me an example of what someone could have at their event.
Sure. So like you can pick any type of, sometimes they're Disney inspired. Sometimes they're all just totally all original, but it's like a lot of fairy tale characters. We have princesses, fairies, mermaids, pirates, pretty much anything you can think of. If your child has mentioned a certain character before, we probably have someone that's really close to that or something that could really kind of tie everything back into one nice, neat little bow to give you a really special little magical element for any party or event.
That is awesome. Well, Rudi, thank you so much, dear. We'll have to do this again, man. This was awesome. Most of my podcasts are over within an hour. This is the longest one I've done. An hour and a half.
I think I'm flattered.
That is, because sometimes, all my guests are awesome, but, I've had a couple that have only gone like 15, 20 minutes because we say what we have to say. And, I'm a big fan of organic conversation. You know what I mean? If it feels forced, you know what I mean?
Better just cut it off.
But this has been great. I would love to have you back on in the future and definitely talk about some shows you have coming up. And again, everything we discuss is going to be in the show notes where you can find Rudi, whether it be in her acting ventures with the American, is it American Theater? Is that who you're working for now?
American Theater Guild. Yep.
Okay, American Theater Guild, the Charleston Light Opera Guild, Putnam Princesses, and more. Rudi, thank you so much. I love you, dear. I appreciate everything.
Ditto. Right back at you, Nick. Thanks for having me.